Hello, everybody. It's Will here, and I'm coming at you with a bonus Chapo interview and episode for this week. And I'm very pleased to say that we having on today's show, we have a comedian whose work I have enjoyed for many years now. It is my pleasure to welcome to the show the bitter Buddha himself, Eddie Pepitone. Eddie, how's it going?
Hey, thank you. This is an honor to be on this podcast. I was listening to you guys yesterday talking about Gaza, and it's amazing because I deal with comics who are so politically inept, so politically unaware on the whole, like when I go up in front of audiences, I look at their dead eyes and I go, do I bring up a genocide here on a Saturday night in the Chuckle Hut? I mean, it is Miami.
uh, well, Eddie, I mean, you talk about like how sort of politically inept or incurious most comedians are, but like at the same time, comedians have become like the de facto Walter Cronkite or Mike Wallace of this current moment, right? Like, like comedians are now becoming the go-to interview for Hitler. You know, like we're happy to have Hitler. Hitler. What's your favorite thing to have for lunch? You know,
Right, right. And it's sort of like Jon Stewart is our Edwin or Morrow, where Stewart should end his daily shows with good night and good luck, you know? But yeah, I think what you're talking about is the big guys like Stewart, Colbert, Chappelle. But I'm in the grind. I'm like with a lot of different comedians at different levels, and I'm just amazed how it is so difficult for them to talk about anything other than Batman and pussy.
how are
Or
those two?
Spider-Man and cock, whatever.
I'm seriously like, how are Batman and pussy? How do we weave those two topics together? Just bring in Catwoman. What's going on here, Eddie?
Yeah, how do we weave those? Well, there's a lot of hidden meaning in Batman, and I think you could just extrapolate from there. But what it is, and I mean, yesterday I did go see the Fantastic Four in 3D and IMAX, and
Can we
I
get a
like.
quick review here? Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four movie. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I give it a thumbs up, but it's hard to fuck up something in 3D and IMAX. I mean, you could watch, Pay It Forward and have a good time in 3D and IMAX. You know what I mean? I mean, have you ever seen Pay It
Oh yeah,
Forward in
I have a good
3D?
time watching Pay It Forward just on my television.
By the way, Failure to Launch, very underrated movie. McConaughey really hit his stride there.
Failure to Launch, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. They're all good.
Yes.
Well, Eddie, you bring up McConaughey in your new special, The Collapse. You have a thing about how annoying it is to see actors of his status and caliber on commercials nonstop. Now it's just like, does he
Dude,
need the
let me
money?
tell you. Yeah, let me tell you that I feel like, and I really shouldn't say, I feel like I'm the only one talking about that. You know who I've really gone after on social media is
Oh,
Martin fucking Short and Steve Martin, who I
yeah.
used to love. I mean, both of them were kind of big in when I was coming of age as a comic, like Martin Short's Ed Grimley. Do you remember Ed
Oh,
Grimley?
Ed Grimley. I mean, Martin Short's Jiminy Glick is one of my favorite
Oh,
characters of all time. Jiminy Glick is one of my favorite shows of all time. And like, I love Martin Short, but you're
right.
right. When I see him and Steve Martin, then they're like,
Wells
like, oh,
Fargo?
can you put this on your Amex or whatever? Yeah, was it Wells Fargo
No,
they're
no.
doing now?
They are doing a campaign, a hell of a campaign for Wells Fargo. which is unbelievable. It's like, let's take one of the most corrupt, abusive corporations and let's be that funny little face of them. The commercials are so unfunny, by the way. They're so unfunny. And, they're shilling for this company that's been, I mean, publicly, I mean, they've been sued, they've been sanctioned, and they're just the worst, you know? I mean, what's
um,
next for them? BlackRock?
well, it's weird because I remember, like, when I was growing up, the thing was if you were like an A-list celebrity and you needed some extra money from doing a television advertisement, you would have to fly to Japan to cut that ad, and it would only air in like the on Pacific Rim countries. But now it just seems
Yes.
like is it like sort of streaming and the internet that is just sort of flattened all celebrity into just like if you're on a screen now you're a celebrity, because it used to be like you would want to sort of protect the mystique of being a famous person by not doing ads for Geico on American television.
Yeah, no, what I think has happened is that what's happened all over is the greed has just gotten to the point of acceptability. And it's, incremental. I mean, my favorite artist of all time is Bob Dylan. And even Bob Dylan did IBM. I don't know if you remember that. He did a commercial for, I think it was, if you remember this crap, Watson, their computer, their supercomputer. He did some Victoria's Secret ads. Even Bob Dylan has done a couple of ads, which I kind of write off. I'm like, well, Dylan is his own thing and he's probably fucking with people. But the celebrities who just on a I can't believe Samuel Jackson, who is the highest box office grossing actor in the history, like his movies have grossed more than anything and of any movies combined. And he is constantly shilling for Capital One, what's in your wallet, you know? And I come at these guys and people don't really respond to it that much because they're like, well, I get things like, I thought it was terrible. I'm also a bit of an asshole, but I thought it was terrible when one of my favorite actors, John Turturro, was shilling for Heineken. And I remember I posted something about that. It was a Super Bowl commercial. And people were like, who are you, his fucking accountant? Let him do his thing. You know what I mean? Like people come at me like that.
I mean, I love John Turturro too, and like I'm not trying to pocket watch another man, but it does sting a little bit when you see someone whose artistic work you respect so much and who's been very successful being in an ad for a bank. But like
Yeah.
Eddie, like do you think like this represents sort of a shift in our economy and our culture overall? Because like when you were coming up as a comedian, there like I feel like
Mhm.
in Gen X there's like this tension between being real and selling out. Because I feel like back then there was still a viable path to success that didn't require selling out. Whereas I feel now like kids who are, Gen Z or whatever are coming up in a world where like selling out is the only viable alternative. So like they don't even
Yeah.
there is no such thing as selling out. It's just like making money, having a life. Like
Selling.
they're selling, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, are you a Bill Hicks fan?
Oh, of course, yeah,
He
certainly.
he was like really super integral. Him and Carlin, and boy, you really realize how far ahead of the curve George Carlin
Oh
was. I
yeah,
mean, he everybody's
I mean,
posting all these Carlin clips.
yeah,
You know,
it's a big club, and you're not in it. But the thing is, like, our friend of the show, Jake Rhodes, who actually I'm having on tomorrow, he had a point the other day that like the club is getting smaller. Like that was the bit that
Yes.
maybe that Carlin didn't anticipate. Like it's not so big a club anymore.
I always wonder what Hicks and Carlin, those particularly those two, what they would be saying right now. Now Hicks he inspired me the way he would talk about artists doing commercials. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah.
he'd be saying, you're sucking on the devil's cock.
Yeah.
And he actually went out of his way to say, I don't begrudge the small time actor, the guy who doesn't have much, but these huge celebrities doing this shit, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, where is integrity anymore? You know?
Well, Eddie, so like I watched the new special, which is great, and what I've always loved about your comedy is like the energy that you bring to the stage. It is always like very much about like the expurgation of sort of anxiety, tension,
Absolutely.
rage, self-loathing. It's like lancing a boil. So I guess I want to ask you is, Eddie, what's annoying you today? What's causing stress for you this week? What's pissing you off? What needs to
All
be
right.
purged from you? Yeah.
You know what really gets me lately is, not lately, but I get obsessed with the climate breakdown. I get obsessed particularly with heat. And I am traveling to Atlanta tomorrow, and I fucking cannot stand Atlanta and the South in the summer.
It's yeah, it's oppressive.
Oppressive is the word. It's like I'm going in to do a place called the Earl on August 1st, and then I fly the next day to Durham, North Carolina, and I just start getting anxious about, oh shit, I hope we're not stuck like stuff like this. I hope we're not stuck on the fucking runway. I remember when they kept me in a plane with, because they don't have AC until you
Yeah, yeah,
fucking take off, right? And it's
yeah.
like, I remember one time I think I was in like Denver, and Denver was like 119 degrees. I mean, the temperatures now are insane, you know? And the storms, I'm always like, okay, I have to rent a car. You know, when I get to the Northeast on this trip, going to Pottstown, Pennsylvania, I take my message to the masses, you know? I go to Pottstown, Pennsylvania. I'm playing the Catskills. I go to, and then I go to Washington, D.C. Maybe I could stop off at the Heritage Foundation. And, I like
Well,
the daily demonstrations going on there. Have you seen those?
no, no, I haven't seen that. But
It's
if
pretty
you're
cool.
if you're stopping off at the Heritage Foundation, make sure to wear your best Semtex vest.
Yes, yes. But I love it because these guys are just standing, guys and gals are just standing out there with bullhorns going, Nazi! Like they walk out of the Heritage Foundation. You fucking pig! How do you sleep at night? But anyway,
It's a good
what I
start.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, not bad. And but what I was saying is that I get panic now about flooding and tropical storm. Like I just think they're all supercharged, which they are. And I just don't want to die in a weather event. You know, playing the Chuckle Hut in Durham or whatever. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Because like I mean, like, there are ways to die violently or die of an illness or pass peacefully in your sleep. Yeah, yeah. But there's something about weather killing you that just seems, I don't know, biblical in a way, or just sort of, I don't know. It's like
Definitely.
rain killed you. You know?
You know, I was supposed to play the Guadalupe River, but that got canceled. You know, I was going to play the banks of the Guadalupe. And, you know, I don't like the way I'm being booked like that. I always tell my bookers, please try to keep me out of, you know, zones like New Orleans. I'm actually doing New Orleans as part of the festival in November, but I think in November it'll either be gone or the hurricanes will be dormant.
Eddie, I see you got
Yeah.
your Brooklyn Dodgers hat on, and I want to talk a little bit about Brooklyn. Because like you were born in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and I think you grew up in Staten Island, right?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, Staten Island, cultural wasteland. People communicated by hitting each other with bats. It was, I'll never forget, me and my dad, who, by the way, got me political. My dad was a union leader for the UFT, United Federations of Teachers. And I don't know if you remember Albert Schenker, who was like a big union leader for the teachers in New York City. As a matter of fact, Woody Allen immortalized him by saying in Sleeper, the movie Sleeper, he said, It's unfortunate, but Albert Schenker has the nuclear bomb. So my dad gave me in Brooklyn when he was a union leader the book The Rich and the Super Rich by Ferdinand Lundberg. I don't know if you've ever heard of that book, but it got me right away. I needed an outlet for my anger because I was a kid who never got enough attention. My mom was in and out of mental institutions, which is, primed me for life. And my dad was just kind of a rageaholic, Sicilian. She was Jewish. It was just it was like just everything was based on woe and anxiety. And that's what I
Yeah.
deliver to
Well,
the
I
crowds.
want to I want to deal into that because a couple weeks ago we had Larry Charles on the show. Larry Charles, also from
I
Brooklyn,
fucking love that guy.
and one of the things I asked him was like, what is it about working class New York City in general, but Brooklyn in particular, that like this milieu contributed so much to what we think of as American comedy? I mean, there's like, like you said, Lenny
Yeah.
Bruce, Woody Allen, Mel Brooks. I mean, you mentioned Carlin before. He's from Morningside Heights. That's in Manhattan. But like,
Who?
it's like George Carlin is from Morningside
Oh,
Heights. He's from Upper
right.
Manhattan.
Yeah. What is it about? Well, you're saying specifically Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Um, I think, Brooklyn is one step removed from Manhattan. And I think if you grew up in Manhattan back then, you were kind of part of the elitists, even if you didn't have a lot of money. But Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn being right outside Manhattan, first of all, New York in general is a cauldron,
Yeah.
a pressure cooker of anxiety, sorrow, rage. And Arthur Miller's from Brooklyn too. Have you ever been to the Brooklyn Walk of Fame in the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens? It's pretty cool
Yes, I
to
have.
see,
It's great.
right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see all the artists who have come from Brooklyn. But I think because New York is such a pressure cooker, and Brooklyn, I think, Brooklyn people kind of wanted to be like, I always looked at Manhattan as like a place to aspire to, because Brooklyn was a borough, but it was pretty, culturally great. Whereas Staten Island, which formed me, my dad thought it was the country. He was like, "We're moving to the country, Staten Island," and that was a cultural wasteland when I was there. It really kind of instilled in me again just rage and aspiring to be like a great comedian, because everyone I saw around me was settling for just suburban shit.
Yeah.
And I went to Brooklyn Tech High School, so I was always in the city.
Oh, you went to Brooklyn Tech?
I did.
All
I
right.
did. I,
Excellent.
I was actually, I found out in the graduating class of Spike Lee, though I never ran into him.
Wow. Two Brooklyn roads diverged, or perhaps, coming together again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Eddie, as long as we're talking about New York City, I'd like to bring up two of New York City's most celebrated and favored sons. I am, of course, referring to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, also from Brooklyn.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's from Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew up around Coney Island. Um, but Eddie, just like as a perspective of yeah, someone filled with the tension and rage that comes with being alive and aware in this country, but also someone who channels that into comedy. I just got to ask, what are you making of the now second term of the second non-consecutive administration of Donald Trump, and what do you make of him continuing to be sort of bedeviled, or rather goring a self-inflicted wound by continuing to talk about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, or try to look anything other than guilty?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got to say that I always get angry at the Democrats for not, people that I know just focus in on Trump as the devil, which he is, but it was a long time coming, It was a long time coming. He is the product. Trump is the the product of a system that incrementally got bought and bought, that the Democrats oversaw, and that none of my so-called liberal friends, want to talk about, like they just oversaw corporations completely buying senators, congressmen, uh, everybody has been co-opted now by money, which is what we were talking about before about this generation of people who just want to sell, and so Trump is this product of years, many years of just this complete sellout, working class people being sold out, whether it started with Clinton from NAFTA, all of that leading up to Trump. So I'm always like, man, don't you see the fucking problem is that we have to have a revolution in this country? I always say on stage, look, when are you people going to rise up? Now, you have to hit the streets. You have to be angry. You can't just, wear pink pussycat hats. You have to disrupt traffic. You have to block the highways. You have to block the machinery. Now, I can't join you. I'm in the middle of Ozark right now. Um, I'm, I'm late to the party
Yeah.
on Ozark, which is really, it really is true that so many people, you know, as we get more and more into this fascist authoritarianism, there's a lot of good shows to watch.
Hey, have you seen Andor, Eddie?
I have not seen
It's
Andor.
good. It's a good show. You should check it out. But to your point about how Trump is sort of like the golem created by a capitalist society and by a liberal Democratic Party that is constitutionally unwilling or unable to confront the savage inequities created by market economies, right? And
Yes,
what I feel like is what we have now is a situation where like there is only the market. Like the market has achieved total primacy and dominance over social and political life. And like in a situation
right.
like that, figures like Donald Trump will rise to the top. And like, I mean, like, and if you think about like the Epstein scandal overall, like, what is it really about? It's about the buying and selling of human beings, and like,
Yeah,
this is really where it leads up to, where this all ends up when it's just like when market forces are allowed to determine the conditions of human life, when like where the
right.
state no longer has the capacity or the willingness to step in and just say no. Like there are values that for human life and thriving and dignity that are more important than the bottom line, than the
Uh,
ability of insurance companies or whoever to like make as much money as possible.
exactly. That said, with Trump's second term, I was a little fucking taken aback that all of a sudden there were masked ICE agents on the streets, and as aggressive as they were immediately, I was like, holy shit. This is so fat. He hit the ground running with this
Yeah.
shit. And that took me a little bit like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. But I mean, this stuff is coming to a head, right? I mean, it's got to with the genocide in Gaza, globally, uh, this kind of oppression going on. I mean, what is going to happen with the climate breakdown? There's going to be so many climate refugees. I mean, how will this, affect my sets at the Improv or the Comedy Store? I'm wondering. you you know like, no, but seriously, like, that's my big thing is like, how do I expose or put this stuff to audiences in a way that kind of awakens the dormant people, or awakens them, and just as an in your face thing. I mean, that's what I do it for. It's cathartic to me. I realize that a lot of my rage is from my Sicilian dad, and I'm kind of channeling him. And he kind of gave up. he kind of gave up like when he was like 60. He started watching fucking CNN and MSNBC and becoming one of those kind of shit libs, you know?
But you said like, but he was the one who sort of like politicized you, that gave you, like he was a union leader. Like, what do
Yeah.
you think was like the process that led to? Is it just aging? Is it just sort of you can only sort of stomach so many defeats before you just figure, hey, why not just can't beat him, join him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, you know, they say aging kind of mellows you. It is not true with me.
I know. I just
It,
watched the special.
yeah, I mean, it is just not true with me. Even though I'm one of these guys, I don't know if I talked about this in the special or not, but I'm one of these guys who drives around LA listening to the power of now.
What's the power of now? Wait, what's that?
You've never heard it?
No,
Uh,
no,
oh, wow. We're on different, like, spiritual planes. It's Eckhart Tolle. Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle? And
no.
it's all about this coming into the now, Buddhism. It's basically Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, which I try to use to like get some kind of grounding. It's all about breathing, meditation. It's all about breathing, rooting yourself because, you know, if you keep following all this stuff that's going on, right? And you just start thinking, and it's just a rabbit hole, and kind of breathing and feeling your body and yoga, stuff like that is a way to kind of come down. But for me, it's a way to recharge so I can go back out there to quote unquote wake people up or to like rage against the fucking oligarchy, you know? But with my dad, I feel like he just had some setbacks in his personal life. You know, he wanted me to be a dentist. He gave me a Novocaine needle when I was 10, like as a birthday present, uh, a molar shaped desk, all this shit. He wanted me to be like a like he wanted me to have a great job. And I remember, I think I broke him when I told him I was dropping out of Fordham University and I'm saying I'm going to study acting in Manhattan. And he just looked at me like, leave, just leave the room. He wasn't, but I want him back. I don't know if you ever saw the documentary about me called The Bitter Buddha, but I want him back with later in his life with my stand up. He came to a big show at the Gotham Comedy Club and I killed. And when I got on stage, he was like, and we caught this on film. He was like, you had them eating out of your hand.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
victory achieved finally.
Mm.
In your career as a comedian, like I touched on this at the beginning in terms of like politics and comedy, because like sometimes it's like oil and water. Do you think that the expectations that audiences have of comedians now have changed? Do you find that they are want political instruction from comedians, or are they rejecting that?
This is what I think. I think you have to be skillful in presenting it to audiences and funny and my buddy Patton Oswalt, who executive produced this, he said to me, one thing I never forget is that my first job is to be funny. And I agree with that. You know, if you're going to be a comedian, you remember Lenny Bruce at the end of his life, he was just reading transcripts,
Yeah,
right? He was
yeah,
reading
yeah.
fucking transcripts from court proceedings. It'd be funny if I just went up there reading like eviction notices that I've been getting. You know, folks, hello, Durham, North Carolina, good to see you. But I just got this eviction notice and just listen to this wording. You know what I mean? But I have a couple of bits that I'm very proud of, like as far as like being political and funny at the same time. I do this bit. I don't know if you've seen it where I go, I'm very left wing. I'm way to the left of Bernie Sanders. I'm super left wing, but I also have a guilty pleasure. I like game shows. And I would like to see my politics bleed into game shows. For instance, I would like to see some woman from Oklahoma on The Price is Right have to guess the price of the Iraq War instead of a toaster. And the curtain comes up and it's just carnage, real life industrial warfare. And she's jumping up and down, going, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And the audience is like, 8 billion a day, 8 billion. And she's like, does that include Afghanistan? All right, with Afghan. I wrote it a while ago, so it was all those wars that were going on back then. Does that include Afghanistan? With Afghanistan, 50 billion. What about the other proxy wars? Ukraine, Syria, Libya, Gaza? Okay, all the wars, let's call it 2 trillion a day. I don't know. Did we ever shut down Guantanamo? Stuff like that. I
Like,
say it turns out the woman from Oklahoma very well read.
but like, I mean, it's like beginning with like Lenny Bruce, Carlin Hicks, people we've talked about. Like, it's been
Yeah.
assumed for a long time that comedians and political comedians have been like the province of the left, or I guess more broadly, like a liberal point of view. But like that's
Yeah.
that's changed. That's changed a lot over the last like 10, 20 years. In that, like, I think there are a lot of comedians now that are political comedians, but they're from the right, or they're from like
Aren't
a
they
or
disgusting though?
yeah.
You ever see a right winger try to be funny? A right wing comedian like this guy, Gut Gutfield, is it?
Oh yeah, Greg Gutfeld. Yeah, I don't. Was he ever?
What?
Was he ever a comedian? I guess he tried to be a
Yeah,
stand-up comedian, but like,
I think he was. I either knew him or his brother. They were actors. I don't know, but
well,
I
I feel
mean,
like a lot of these right-wing entertainers are failed actors and comedians. Like they had like
yes,
they gave it 1 year of trying to like make it big, didn't work
or a
out,
few
and they feel
years.
yeah. But now they have this sort of like an audience that's like a habit trail that will just like like hamsters that will just like go to that water bottle and like because they feel underserved, and like
Yeah,
it's sort of like
yeah.
it's less of a free market. I feel it's like there's a lot of sort of juiced incentives for a right wing audience, because like if you just say the words they want to hear, or you just like
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
you know
I just hate. I just don't like those guys. Have no fucking awareness of class. Class struggle. They have zero. Awareness of class struggle. And what they kind of focus on is the woke stuff. These comics are telling us what to do. Meanwhile, people's health care is getting taken away from them. There's no due process for people. People are getting disappeared, and they're like talking about, we can't say the word retarded. You know what I mean? Like that's their big fucking
well,
thing.
it's funny you said that, like they don't have a class consciousness, but I think a lot of the woke
Mm.
culture war stuff is a right wing attempt to kind of like engage in class warfare, because like they would say that like what wokeness or woke ideology, or sort of like pronouns, not being able to say retard, that these are the province of an American upper class that is liberal, that is being
Yeah.
censorious and sort of like like using their power to oppress in some way like the authentic working class voices who like want to be racist and say retarded, and be tell just be
Yeah.
rude and crude and fun.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true, but I feel like particularly right wing comedians don't, their thing is just to like build an audience. I mean, again, it goes back to your point about people just want to sell. So they like see this, MAGA crowd, Rogan crowd, whatever, as just this big market, to like be tapped, and they tap it. And that's why, my following is a very niche following. We like our meat sliced very thin, in my following, like just, the thin prosciutto,
Mm.
you know.
Well, you bring that up, Eddie, but aren't you a vegan?
Mm. Yeah, I'm on and off. Yes, but I'm getting back to it now. It was tough because I had major surgery, and I was told by my surgeon to eat intense protein. I told him I was vegan. He said to recover. I had an incision that went hip to hip. Not to brag, I'm sure you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And
Hip to
so I
hip.
went back.
That is impressive.
Yeah, it was a great incision. I didn't even need it. It was elective. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. But yeah, so, because vegan for me is also, besides,
Because like, and
the,
I bring it up because like vegan, like
Mhm.
that's a punchline for like right wing comedians or
Oh,
right wing politicians, like being a vegan, like the soy eaters or whatever. But like, I say this as someone who's not even a vegetarian. Like I eat meat, but like I am convinced that like in 100 years from now, like that's going to be thought of as like a fairly morally, I don't know, blind thing to have just, I don't know, not
well,
just because it's part of the culture, it's how you were raised that like you just kind of go along with it. Like, so I have conflicting
right.
feelings, but like,
Oh,
like
yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy to do. I mean, I used to go to, Kansas City, like looking for a cucumber sandwich or something. You know what I mean? It's like, and everybody around you is eating prime rib or whatever. And you're like, holy shit, you know? Um, but what I want to say is that, I really got into it for the animal activism, like, getting into the slaughterhouse videos. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
every night before I would go to sleep, I would watch a slaughterhouse video just to kind of put me out. A lot of people listen to Rain.
Yeah.
Um, I listen to the screaming. No, but I mean, they're
But no,
brutal
I guess
industries
what I'm
to
saying is like,
animals.
yeah, like the idea that like having compassion for other living things. I mean, like, how
Mm.
did that become such a punchline? Because I really feel that like
Yeah.
the
Well,
less compassion that you have for living things other than human beings, like the likelihood that you're going to have not have compassion for actual living human beings is, I think, greatly
absolutely.
increased.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always say my feed on Instagram is I go from I post these horrific things about Gaza, and then I will I will do a palate cleanser, on Instagram stories or whatever. I'll do a palate cleanser of a possum eating a potato. You know what I mean? And that's my
Eddie,
feed.
I have curated my Instagram so it is all possums eating potatoes. Because like I'm on fucking Twitter more or less professionally, and that is a
I
24/7 madness inducer. It is
I can't even
it's an insanity
imagine.
engine. So I make sure that
It's
yeah,
an
my
insanity.
Instagram reels are just, yeah, like badgers sniffing around, seals making funny
Yes.
noises,
Yes.
and then occasionally
Yes.
like I get a lot of interviews from like that are like actors talking about how they kick drugs and alcohol. I don't know why Instagram's recommending those videos to me, but
Yeah, I want to say this too, and this bugs me no end as far as veganism is, why don't scientists and why don't all these people who report on the climate breakdown mention methane? They're always talking about fossil fuels, right? That leads to greenhouse gas warming and global warming. But methane that is produced on these factory farms are even worse than the fossil fuels, you know?
right.
And it is trapping, more heat. And nobody, I don't understand it that they don't talk about that. And my idol politically, who I've been following, reading all his books, is Chris Hedges. I just feel like this guy stands out there with all this integrity. It's almost hilarious at this point. Like, it used to be him and Chomsky. I love Chomsky too, but Chomsky has disappeared. I think Chomsky is going to be on The Golden Bachelor this year. I'm not sure.
That would be funny. That would be fantastic. I would love to
I
see
was thinking of
Chomsky.
doing a
Yeah,
sketch
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Like he's meeting these women who are just, talking about, how hot he is. And he's like saying, I just want to talk to you about Resolution 5618 instead of kissing, if you don't mind. Chomsky on the Golden Bachelor, but
I go on a date, just reminding all the dates that, if you read the business press, like the Financial Times, actually the capitalist class is quite honest about what they're
that's
doing.
where you get the truth.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, I don't care about the business press. What I care is that you press your clothes, and don't look as rumpled. I mean, why are you let go of the professor thing? Oh, I'm 95 and not feeling well. But what was I saying about Hedges? He turned vegan. And I was like, so Chris finally went vegan, which, I mean, just as far as climate sustainability, it's a big thing. It's a
Well, I
very
mean,
big
I
thing.
did see recently that Texas, the state of Texas, has just passed a law that essentially pre-bans any form of lab-grown meat being sold in Texas. And like the lab-grown
Oh,
meat
well,
thing
yeah.
is so fascinating to me because it's just like, well, if there is like an alternative that creates like an equivalent of animal-based protein that is more or less the same thing, that doesn't have the horrific side effects associated with like the mass slaughter of cattle, for instance, or not even the slaughter of cattle,
Yeah.
the raising and keeping of cattle, and like in
Yeah.
terms of water and methane and things like that. What, like, I
Hmm.
mean, and if you still enjoy eating meat, like what's the problem? I'll eat lab grown meat. I don't care. Like, but it's just
Yeah.
like
I just
it's
see,
the preemptive blocking of a possible alternative because the concept that like you could eat a steak in which like an animal wasn't slaughtered for it is like offensive in some
yeah.
way.
Well, because they're all invested in cattle, you know.
Yeah.
They don't watch the Instagram videos of cows playing with balls. There's a lot of Instagram videos that show, or videos just showing cows being super playful, which I never even knew. A lot of cows are playing hide and seek. They're playing different board games. I don't know if a lot of cattle are into shoots and ladders. Just stop
Cow,
me when I'm reaching for humor and it's
cow,
not hitting.
but not yet. You got a green light all the way, Eddie. Well, we've been talking about like comedy and wokeness. So I wanted to share an article with you from the other week that I very much enjoyed, and I just wanted to
Mhm.
get your thoughts on it. The headline. This is from FoxNews.com, and the headline is: Billy Joel tells Bill Maher he's over what woke people think of him. Are you a fan of the Bill Maher podcast? Are you a fan of New
Oh
Rules
no.
and Real
Oh
Time?
God. You know, I used to like Mar when he first came on the scene. I thought, oh, this guy's kind of in your face, and boy, has he become a real. First of all, he's an arrogant prick. He's just an arrogant guy. The couple of times I met him, he's just like he's kind of dismissive, like who the fuck are you? But his politics on Gaza,
Yeah.
it's just like that is, what a fucking idiot,
Well, I mean, when we had
and
Larry
so,
Charles on, we talked about because Larry worked with him on
oh,
Religulous, and
that's
like,
right.
yeah,
And I
and like,
love Larry.
no, I mean, like obviously Larry has taken a stand against where some of his former collaborators have gone, particularly on the issue of Palestine. But like with Bill Maher, it's like
Seinfeld.
like his whole thing is like atheism. Like religion is stupid. God doesn't exist, but he did give Israel to the Jews, who just like what like
Yeah.
um
I don't know about Trace being around the country, talking to different people, how God doesn't exist is helpful. I get I get the fact that people can become religious zealots, but I have a bit about what the hell does an existential, atheist church have to offer? Like, what is an atheist healer? Come on up. And someone comes up and they put their hand on him and they just go, what's your problem? And they're like, I can't walk. And they just put their hand on the head of the atheist healer and goes, it's going to get worse. And, and you are going to be a burden to your family. You're going to die alone in the Mark Twain Hotel. Do you know that hotel? It's in Hollywood. It's horrible. It's horrible. You're just going to have a hot plate watching Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about how there is no Santa Claus.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I really don't like Mar on so many levels,
Yeah.
so many
Well, I
levels.
mean, like, he's been at the forefront of, the wokeness backlash, and he doesn't like millennials because we're too woke. And so, but now he's found somebody simpatico in Billy Joel. And I just want to
Billy
read a little of this
Joel.
article. It says legendary musician Billy Joel told Bill Maher he doesn't care if the far left complains about his statements or music anymore. During the latest episode of Maher's Club Random podcast, released
Oh,
Monday, the two discussed the woke left's reaction to anything it disagrees with Joel admitting he is over being concerned about what that group thinks of him. I mean, like, I didn't know Billy Joel was being targeted by like the left
me
wing in this
neither.
country, or
Like,
libtards, or.
are there social democrats going, have you listened to New York State of Mind or Brenda and Eddie? It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Well, they
It's
actually, well, they get into like what this article claims. It says, uh, at this point, I'm inured to it, Joel said in reply to Maher asking if he doesn't care if woke people criticize him any longer. Maher brought up woke outrage while talking to Joel about his 1976 song "Angry Young Man." In the song, Joel sings,
oh,
"I believe I've passed the age of consciousness and righteous rage. I found that just surviving was a noble fight. I once believed in causes too. I had my pointless point of view, and life went on no matter who was right or wrong." What was this outrage over this song? Like,
yeah. Yeah. Well, I did have a
oh,
problem with
I
that
almost say that
song.
when I saw him at Madison Square Garden a couple of years ago. If I had known he wrote those lyrics in a song in 1976, I never would have gone. Okay, I didn't know I was supporting. I didn't know I was supporting fascism.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I did have a problem with that song a little bit because I was like, what do you mean? I can't be angry? Like, because survival is difficult? I'll tell you why survival is difficult is because BlackRock is buying up all the real estate, Mr. Joel. No, but yeah, that to me is hilarious that Billy Joe feels besieged
Well, like
by the woke culture.
I watched this interview, and the thing is, I don't think
You
Billy Joel
watched it.
does. Yeah, I watched it. I don't think Billy Joel does feel besieged by the woke censoriousness. I think he's just kind of like trying to have a conversation with Bill Maher and giving him nothing, or giving him the bare
Exactly.
minimum to like, just like get to the end of the get to the end of it. It says, with
Mhm.
help from Joel, Maher recited the lyrics and commented, "I feel like this is the message of the age, even though some people will hear that and say, look at these two assholes. Boomers," Joel chimed in, mocking an insult often lobbed at older generations. The host continued, noting how mad leftists get when people don't declare Trump's the worst. Well, I mean, Eddie, you started the show. You didn't say Trump's the worst. You said it's all our fault that he's fucking in president again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on that podcast, what did I see? I always love watching uh who's really grown on me is Bill Burr. Like
Bill Burr's
Burr,
great. Yeah,
well, not only is Bill just flat out hilarious,
yeah, he
but
crushes.
he just makes great points about different things. And he would just call Mar out on his bullshit. If you've seen that,
I have
you
seen that
know,
episode. Yeah,
wasn't that great?
yeah,
Hey, you're here, doing his Boston. Oh, you're like a little league coach here. Like I just
yeah.
love the way and Burr got like the media was trying to go after Burr about saying something about Mangione,
Oh yeah,
you
I don't.
know.
Every time I see him interviewed now, he bigs up Luigi for killing that CEO, and he's like, "We need a couple more of that." He
Yeah,
says free Luigi every time I see him on an interview. So,
yeah. And they were talking about some people are like claiming that this shooter in Manhattan was
oh
going
yeah, I
after
was gonna bring it up. Like he
black.
like
It's
more or
become
less
this thing.
accidentally shot that like one of the heads of like BlackRock's like landlord division. And
Yeah,
I'm not making this. I didn't make this joke, but several people have pointed it out that like you want to talk about New York City. That's how evil New York City is. That you can more or less randomly do a mass shooting trying to kill someone else and accidentally kill the head of BlackRock's real estate fucking
oh,
division.
oh my God, that's very funny. If you do a random shooting in New York, you're definitely, especially on Park Avenue.
Well, I was thinking about that. This guy was trying to kill people in the NFL head office.
Yes, yes, and I'm an NFL fan.
Yeah, me too.
As a matter, You are too.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Who's your
I
team? Who's your
always,
team, Eddie? Jets or
well,
Giants?
it's the Giants.
Me too.
And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I always look at my sports addiction. I'm a big hockey New York Rangers. I'm a big New York Giants and New York Yankees. My sports addiction has a big conflict with my corporate criticism. It's a
Yeah.
big conflict because the NFL, for instance, has become a commercial for the military.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
and one bit I do is I say to the audience, I hate when they end up, it's become a commercial for the military. And I hate when they fly these, F-14 bombers overhead stadiums. And the announcer's always like, ladies and gentlemen, flying overhead are F-14 bombers from Fort Bragg. And I go, I wish they would tell the truth. Like, ladies and gentlemen, flying overhead are F-14 bombers from Fort Bragg. Each one of these bombers could be 50 libraries in your community. You could have free healthcare, free daycare. You could have an infrastructure that's not falling apart. But instead, all you have is a manifestation of imperialistic evil. Enjoy the game, you fucking
Well,
sheep.
well. Here's the thing, Eddie. I don't like when politics get put in sports. Okay, I think people need to leave their political and just they leave their political opinions at the door, stand for the national anthem, and look at a nuclear bomber fly over the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so funny that I ignore sometimes the politics. You remember that whole thing with Kaepernick,
Oh yeah, so, yeah, like kicking
taking
the
a
knee and
knee
whatnot. Yeah.
and these white owners were like, this is disgusting. How the fuck can this guy do this? Does Billy Joel know about this?
Well,
You know,
I'm glad to hear this from you, Eddie, because I too sometimes have to confront and then immediately compartmentalize all of my publicly stated political beliefs and stances with rooting for the New York Yankees, which is, I'm sorry, not going to
yes.
change.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And people have always told, as a matter of fact, I've had a
But
bunch of friends
but
saying,
like every team in professional sports, it's like they're all the owners are the same people. Like,
yeah, yeah, right. But they're really, I remember my friend years ago, he used to say, it's like rooting for U.S. Steel. What are you doing? When U.S. Steel was a company that was
yeah.
big, like, how can you root for the Yankees? And I'm like, have you seen their rotation? Their pitching staff is fucking horrible. Rooting for the Yankees is the worst.
I know we haven't won a World Series in like 15 fucking years. The injustice of that, it sickens me.
It's too long. It's a little
Yeah.
worse than climate breakdown. Like if I had
uh, sorry, just to get to the end of the Bill Maher Billy Joel piece. It says, and don't you care what they say about you? The woke, Maher asked. At this point, no. The musician replied. But like, what I like about that is like, if you're someone in Billy Joel's position, do you care what anyone says about you? Like you've won. Like
yeah,
you're an
you won.
institution. Like you've won. Like
Well, I
from
think
any
you
political
nailed it.
yeah.
I think you nailed it when you said he's trying to give Mars something. Like, what are they going to talk about? You know what I mean? Like, who were Brendan and Eddie? You know that song, right?
Yeah, of
Brendan
course.
and Eddie with the. Were they real people? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, when Anthony moved out of his mother's house, what, like, what are the. Have you ever moved out from somewhere? Could you tell us some moving stories that inspired that song, Billy? Where
And
says,
he's Mr. New York,
yeah,
supposedly Billy Joel, right?
yeah.
He's
Well, he's Mr. Long Island, is really what he
that's
is.
what he is, though. But he did the longest residency at Madison Square Garden.
I know, and like they put they gave him a banner in Madison Square Garden for like how many shows he's done at MSG, and I'm thinking like. The
Yeah.
Long Island, like the New York State troopers who patrol the Long Island Expressway should have a banner raised up in the precinct for how many times he's driven drunk.
Oh shit! Has he? Has he?
Yeah. Well, he takes a
That's
he takes
funny.
a helicopter into MSG now to avoid any any problems operating a vehicle.
It's kind of like me when I used to drive to San Francisco. I was not drinking, but I would speed, and I got nailed for speeding tickets. Like I would drive from LA to San Francisco. Like I think I got speeding tickets back to back trips, and I was like, "It's a 45-minute flight, Eddie. Let's just do the flight." instead of the 4.5 hour drive through Auschwitz. Speaking of
Oh yeah, you want to
veganism.
talk about fucking becoming a
Ooh,
vegetarian, man? When the first time I drove past that Central Valley Drive from LA to San
ah,
Francisco, it felt like the fucking end of the world to me, man. It was
end of the world.
grim. Yeah.
End of the world. That's why I think people love San Francisco so much. When you're driving, you finally come to life when you see the city of San
It's
Francisco.
like 6 hours that just looks like
Oh,
the fucking surface of Mars. That industrial
yes.
agriculture is just there's
Yes. And
like
I,
sometimes you see like a person like working in one of these fields, but for the most part, it is denuded of all life. It is really dramatic.
denuded of all life.
Yeah.
It's just the worst. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just getting to the end here. It says, it's so difficult in this day and age, Mar replied. Mar continued, I mean, is what I'm always trying to do on my show. It is, look, this is one safe space for everyone, and I will take heat from either, both sides. I mean, I do feel like the left, who ironically I'm actually more aligned with, is more snippy about it and has a worse attitude about it, and it makes me viscerally not like them some more sometimes. Elsewhere, the two discussed how social media makes political outrage worse. People say things all the time on social media they would never say if they had to say it to your face, Mar said. I'm just always surprises me how people they express this hatred, Joel responded. It's like you hate a musician because he wrote something. It's like I don't think no one hates Billy Joel.
I know.
They hate Bill Maher. They don't hate Billy Joel. And
Right.
I just
Right. I may
really
start a
though,
group.
but Eddie, I got to tell you, really, the highlight of this interview came
Yeah.
when it's not covered in the Fox News article, but on this Club Random episode, Bill Maher pitched Billy Joel on a song idea he had, and he's like I wrote this song, and he said like I've always wanted to like do something with it, but the song is about an age gap relationship and people being judged because of an inappropriate age gap, and I wanted to do a song about that, and Joel he's giving him nothing. He's like oh okay.
I even had a good premise and a title. It was called The World Makes Us Lie.
Okay, that's a good premise.
It is, because it was about someone in a relationship with someone who the world deemed age inappropriate. I don't know where I got the idea. But, and that could be more universal than that. The world does make us lie about things.
I agree.
She's 20 and I'm 60.
The thing is, like, there have been a lot of songs along those lines. You know, like she was only 16. Like that was a song.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's hilarious that Mar is trying to justify his age gap relationships through Billy Joel, and he didn't bite. It'd be like, who Mar would never have on his show is Roger Waters, who is a hero of mine.
Oh yeah, because he doesn't back down on Israel. Like, and he's taking a lot of shit for that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But ahead of the curve, man. I gotta say, I've never liked Radiohead, and I've never felt more vindicated from that.
I liked one of their songs, I forget which one, but I would cry to it in my car, which I do a lot with Van Morrison. I find that in LA, you have to, you weep in your car in LA. You live in LA?
No, I'm in Brooklyn.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't
I grew
know
up in
that
the city.
this.
I grew up in Manhattan, but I live in Brooklyn now. But I'm
where
in
are you
LA
in
quite
Brooklyn?
frequently. I'm in Clinton
okay.
Hill.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love it. Anyway, being in LA, it's a certain type of dystopia, In New York, people cry on the streets, but here in LA, you have to cry in your car.
Yeah. It's the car is like it's your little bubble. You're captain of the universe until you hit traffic.
Until you hit traffic. Yeah. I like doing a bit about how I'm very upbeat in the car when when there's no traffic, and then as soon as I hit traffic, I'm like, oh, I really fucked my life up, didn't I? By not staying with medicine and dentistry.
It's like no, but like I when I think about cars and like America is like the premier car culture of the world, right? We haven't like even if we wanted to build like $10 trillion worth of high speed rail tomorrow, which we should. The fact of the matter is, like, we spent like 100 years making the infrastructure of everything in this country just entirely dependent on cars. So it's very hard for me to imagine a way out of that. And I think like a lot of that is like because America's such a big country, there's this vastness, this openness. And like with a car, you have this like, at least theoretically, you have this like ultimate freedom of transit and motion and sort of
Yeah,
acceleration. And like, yeah, like you're driving a nice day, you got the window open, you really feel like this is what freedom feels like. And then you hit traffic and you're like, I feel like a fucking rat. Like I feel like a fucking insect. Like
totally. Well, you immediately like look around and say, I'm not different than any of these assholes who were stuck on the 405 South with me. Why didn't I fly out of Burbank? Why do I still go to LAX? Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, but like I think a lot of like the rage that comes from driving comes from like, you know, the
Oh,
commute to work and from being in traffic. And I think like being in traffic forces like this very individualistic American mindset to confront the fact that your time and your life is in fact no more or less important than anyone else's. And I think that
yes.
causes people immense frustration and anger a lot of times.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the public transportation, one thing I love about New York City, because I go back there a lot lately, is jump on the subway, you know, it's like easy.
Well, it's like when
Out
you arrive at
here,
your
the
destination,
subway,
you can just get out. You can just walk away. Whereas with a car, you have this like,
yes.
oh, here's 3 tons of steel I need to account for.
Yeah, but also the public transportation here in Los Angeles is terrible. It's just terrible. You know, the subways are, they don't go many places, you know. Super, super dangerous, you know, even more than New York, you know. It's just the transportation system, like you said, it's all been based around highways and cars out here, you know.
Well, Eddie, I think we got to wrap it up here. But like I said,
Yeah.
you have a new special out right now. It's called The
Yes.
Collapse. I
Yes,
watched it.
it's on.
It's extremely funny. It's classic. It's classic Pepitone. It's classic Pepitone thought. For anyone out there who's already a fan of yours, but if people want to see the special, if people want to get your stuff, where should they go?
Yeah, they could go to veeps.com/ Eddie Pepitone. You could pay $12 for it, and you get it for 7 days. Or you could like do a subscription to Veeps, which has all this stuff on it, and have it unlimited. And then after about a couple of months, I'm gonna put it on YouTube. So that's, yeah, The Collapse, I call it, and the society's collapse mirrors my own collapse.
Well,
You know.
yeah, you know, in preparing for the show, I did find an article from the Boston Globe years ago that said that like
Oh
Eddie
yeah.
Pepitone's time has finally arrived, and it only took the
Yes.
total collapse of society.
Yes. 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 I get kidded about that with my friends. Yeah. 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 But thank you so much, Will, for the interview.
Well, thank you, Eddie. Like I said, I've been a fan for a long time, so really nice to
Thanks,
have you
man.
on the show.
Great. Take
All
care,
right,
guys.
cheers, everybody. Bye bye.